Hey, everybody. Welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I'm so blessed and honored to be here with my friends, Jennifer Rodriguez and David Toledo. What's up, y'all? How's it going?
Hi, it's good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm excited today. We're
Hey
talking
Ben,
about
see you, brother.
mentorship, right? WERC Momentum Mentorship Program. Oh, my gosh.
That's right.
Do that 5 times. Do that 5 times.
Oh, my gosh. I'm having trouble with it. Anyway, how are y'all doing? Everybody doing well today?
We're doing good. It's rainy and like almost like tornado-y in Chicago in the Midwest. We're getting some weird weather, so that's fun. I'm ready for like this summer hot weather. But yeah, everything's good. No complaint.
Awesome. Get in the comments,
We're at
y'all.
uh, we're at
Hit that
80.
like
We're
button.
at 80 degrees over here in
What is
San
it out
Diego. We're
there?
at 80 degrees. UV's at 10. It's completely sunny. It's
Yo,
terrible
can we
out
just
here.
talk about the UV index for a second? I'm an old man. I'll talk about the weather now. Can we just talk about the UV index for a second? I was in Florida. I remember when I was a kid, right? It went up to 10, right? It's a 1 to 10 scale, right? And then at some time when I was like, I don't know, in my
Yeah.
20s, I feel like it went to 11, right? And 11's like, oh crap, like get the SPF 90 out, watch yourself, 10 minutes, no more, be careful out there. I was in Florida, it was a 12. I just thought we were going to stop at 11, and that was just like 11's extra. It's too much. Be careful. Now we're at 12. When does it end?
When does it end? I don't know, but let me
Has
tell
the
you,
scale changed or after you,
I
Jen?
I just feel like I look at the UV index a lot. When it's sunny, I'm always curious what it is, and I don't know why, but it's funny on the weather app. It says like highly recommended SPF like X amount. Like if you have an iPhone, it's pretty robust as we know, but it's kind of crazy that they are all about the UV index now, and I love it.
Hit the
But you
like
know
button
what?
right now. Let us know what the UV index is right now. I tell you what, I watch, I'm very fair complected. You know what I'm saying? I try to keep you, I try to stay ageless out here. But, Jillian on my team, she loves a good tan. She comes in on, I say, how was the weekend? She's like, oh, Sunday was only a 4. It was only a 4 UV index. I was trying to catch a tan out here. She was all heated about it. But anyway, sorry, y'all. No, we got a good show today. We're gonna be talking about mentorship. Talk to us a little bit about this Momentum Mentorship Program. Jennifer, you want to tell us a little bit about it, and David?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Ben. Maybe I'll kick it off, Jen, and then you sort of fill in some of the stuff in between. So this mentorship program was something that Jen and I we've been working on it for it feels like over a year now. We had the opportunity to bring the idea to Anupam and WERC, and just kind of pitch them the fact that this is a really important gap that we have in our industry, right? I think inherently mentorship is built into the industry pretty well. That's why people stay in the industry, because we all look out for each other. We do a good job sort of looking out for each other and sharing information and lifting each other up. But there hasn't been a centralized sort of resource for that where WRC is taking lead on until now, right? So we pitched it to Anupam and team back in March. We made this sort of like soft launch announcement back in WRC's conference last year in October, and then we've been recruiting and sort of building the infrastructure since then. Maybe Jen can fill us in a little bit on like some of the committees and
Yeah,
some of the work that we've done from then until now too.
yeah. So I just want to preface that March of 2024, not March of 2025. So David and I have been at this for quite some time for sure. So yeah, as we all know, these things take a village. We have unreal, amazing, talented professionals in our industry that are sitting on our committee members, and we'll share those later. But it's almost like a behind the scenes regional group. In as far as structure wise, it has committees of recruitment, sponsorship. It's made up of all the things that you would need for a regional group. So it definitely takes a village. This program is not like a traditional mentorship program where typically you're at a one-on-one mentorship program, if you will, and this one is actually a pod-based program. So it's about 3 to 4 mentees to 1 to 2 mentors per pod. And those pods are working towards a theme, or we select a theme for the year, and the pods are working on a project or something that they're coming up with to speak to the theme for that year. So it's a very unique, more collaborative mentorship program, not the universal one-on-one mentorship. So that's kind of like a snapshot of what the entire program is kind of run down, nuts and bolts.
I'm really interested in this pod approach because I've not heard of this before. Tell me more about that. And people get in the comments here. We're going to give some shout outs here in a second. Richard, I see you. Quigley, I see you. Yes, I see it's very hot in Scottsdale. But tell me about this pod approach, Jennifer. What is that and how is that different from a typical structure?
Yeah, so actually this program kind of came from a program that David had participated in, and that was the Ladders program. And so David, I don't know if there's specifically something you want to highlight with that and how you kind of brought that into the ERC realm.
Yeah. So GBTA, which is Global Business Travel Association, they have this amazing program called Ladders. I've gone through it. Mary Corrales, who's also part of our committee, has gone through it, and I'm sure a few other folks in our industry have experienced it. And it was just such a great program that built community, that really took mentorship, looked at mentorship from a different angle, right? And the pod approach is really that differentiator that Jen mentioned. And the reason why it's so important is because it almost takes the onus away from okay, I got to go to my mentor and learn from them. It takes the onus towards the mentees to teach themselves, right? So now they're a team. They're interpreting an annual theme, and they're building a project. And that project can be anything. It could be a company, it could be a thesis, it could be an app, it could be a website, right? So, from start to end, they're really educating themselves, right? Yes, they are leaning on their mentors, but very much they're collaborating in sort of going through the workshops, reading, doing research, and it just really changes the dynamic and puts more ownership into the hands of the mentees. So I think that's why that's so impactful.
I really like that approach. Get in the comments, y'all. Let me know what you think about this pod approach. To me, it reminds me like a cohort, maybe in school, or a training class. If you talk about it at a corporation, where we used to train people, or we used to hire people one at a time. And then somebody once told me, he said, don't hire people one at a time, hire 3 people, because then they learn from each other and they get better. And that stuck with me. And then we started seeing that, because then people start riffing, and they also enjoy it more, and they stick with it, and they give more discretionary effort, because there's a social component now too. And it's not just, you're not just learning, it's not just tactical. So I really like that. I've never heard of that before, but it makes a lot of sense.
The other thing I wanted to mention here, Ben, is one thing that I thought was really great about the pod situation is you're connecting with people in the industry that, you may have seen once or twice at a symposium or whatever it is, but we're really strategically placing these pods with people from different, East Coast, West Coast, different verticals of the industry. So we're really strategically placing people. So the collaboration is amongst who you would typically, run into at your Midwest or whatever it may have you. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to make greater connections and networking outside of the mentorship program too.
So how do you pick people? Well, hold on. I'm going to get some shout outs real quick. We got some people coming. We got some people in the comments here, and then I'm going to ask you how you pick people, because that's always a really fun. I love the matchmaking component of that, and how you pair people. I think that's really interesting. Mike Quigley checking in, excited to hear these 2 rock stars. What's up, Mike? I'm not part of that. What's going on, Mike? Jana Edgar. Hey there, y'all. What's up, Jana? It's good to hear from you. Patrick Marble. 110 with an 11 index here in Scottsdale. Dang, homie. Wow. I don't know how people live in 110, but people say, "Oh, I'll play golf in it. It's a dry heat."
No. Right. I'm
Nope. No, thank you.
I feel like fire is a dry heat too. Darren Burley. Wow, those are 2 cool mentorship kids. And I got the best tan in Relo. You do, Darren. You do. Like a very cappuccino. It's very nice. It's very nice.
Cappuccino.
He's
I love
very
that.
cappuccino, very cappuccino burly. I love Darren. Richard Machewski, hi from an unusually uncomfortably hot London, where we moan about the cold and we moan about the heat. It's British.
Mm.
What's up, Richard? It's good to see you. Very cool. Yeah. So tell me about how you pair people. That's always interesting to me because I've been mentored before. I've been through some association-led mentoring programs, and I've been through some just kind of ad hoc stuff in my career, and honestly, I wouldn't be where I am today without a lot of people giving me a hand or a word. But it happened organically. When it was good, it happened organically. When we were paired randomly, it felt random and it didn't feel like there was a connection. So I'm kind of curious, how do you pair people for best impact?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Jen kind of mentioned part of it already, right? We're very intentional in the diversity aspect of it, which is, we want to make sure that different service lines are represented, different geographies are represented, gender, everything, right? So we want to make sure that you're not just we're not pairing people on the West Coast with people on the West Coast and people from the East Coast with the East Coast, right? We're also making sure that we're mixing in a good mix of suppliers and corporates, right? Everyone there is put on that team to build, to bring a different perspective, right? What they do for a living, the challenges that they bring to the table, and the solutions ultimately that's going to come from that sort of thinking, right? So that's sort of the formula behind it from the mentee perspective. And then from the mentor perspective, we wanted to make sure that the mentors that we select for this program, and let me tell you, there was a lot of mentors that applied for the program. There's a lot of experience.
Really? Did you have to tell a lot of people no?
Right? Well, we haven't closed recruitment yet, which is a good call out, Ben. Thank you for pointing that out. Recruitment closes on Friday,
Okay.
but we do have more mentors than we do have spots for. So we will have to find creative ways to see if maybe they will serve on other committees, maybe like a judging committee or maybe as a future mentor. But yeah. And with mentors, just to close out that point, we wanted to make sure that it's senior level folks that have led teams before, that have the experience of doing this, right? So want to make sure that we've got an all-star crew of mentors to kick off our first year of the program.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. What you look for in mentors, and I'm really curious, and I may ask some of our guests later, what makes a good mentor. I'm curious to talk to you both, though, about your experiences being mentored in this industry. And I'm curious to ask folks who are watching. We got a bunch of people checking in on LinkedIn, got a couple folks on Facebook and YouTube as well. Hit that like button, get in the comments here. But I'm kind of curious, who mentored you in your career? And what was that like? How did that happen? I understand that this is kind of a newer approach through WERC, but how did those relationships kind of happen for you?
Yeah, I feel like I touched on this week at the CRC, some of the CRC events, but I think as a young professional or a newer professional in an industry that very little about, I don't think when I first joined this industry, I knew and understood the importance of a mentor. And when I got introduced to a handful of them, I quite literally feel like I'm like, what have I been doing for the past couple of years of my career? And I feel like the people that have mentored me thus far and continue to mentor me have made literally a day and night difference in an impact of who I am as a professional and as a personal and my personal life too. So I think they have a lot to say and a lot to teach. And I think it goes both ways, right? I think mentors also look at their mentee for mentorship within themselves. So I think, it's a two-way street. We both different perspectives, ages, experiences in life. So I think the value of a mentor is so underrated, in my opinion. And I think, I wish I had one day one when I walked into my first day of a professional career. So
yeah, David, you want to share your experience?
Yeah, and Ben, yeah, man, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with an earlier comment. Mentorship can be something that's formal, right? You reach out to someone and you ask them, hey, I'd love to set up some regular calls together, or it could be something that's informal, right? That maybe it's a coworker that helps you get up to speed when you first join a company for a little bit, right? It could be a family member. It could be something that just sprouts up organically and maybe just serves you for a period of time. Maybe it's something that keeps going for a longer period of time, right? So mentorship has a lot of different forms that it can take. For me personally, I mean, in the mobility industry, I can say that I wouldn't be where I am without a lot of like a community of mentors, right? And that fit both of those categories, formal, informal, just things that I've picked up, even like Mr. Quigley, for example, he's not a formal mentor of mine, but I remember sitting down with this guy and having lunch and just hearing him go back and forth, name dropping and talking about programs and just learning as much as I could that wasn't flying over my head at that lunch, right? But just things like that, right? And then having formal mentors, right? Like bosses that I used to work with and for different companies, right? Like I can say, Josh was an incredible mentor for me when I was working at Odyssey. That guy is just a wealth of knowledge, as you know, Ben.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
formal and informal mentors definitely have gotten me to where I am today.
Well, and oh, sorry, Jen, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's also funny because David, I feel like I've learned so much from you in this process, and so like I feel like that can be, to your point, at any level, at any point in time too. So
yeah, and I think the word also sometimes is tough because mentor carries a lot of connotation to it. It carries like this big, when I hear mentor, I think of this sage person that's going to just dispense wisdom, like this oracle or something, and it's your one person that's going to give you all the wisdom, and in truth, it's not like that. It's a matrixed network of people who just kind of have your best interest at heart and take a shine to you, kind of take you aside here and there at a conference or whatever, and just kind of give you some ideas or that you bounce some stuff off of. And I just think that I almost think the word is a little challenging in and of itself, mentor. But we're gonna talk more. We're gonna talk more about it. We got a comment coming in, and then I want to get to. We got some slides here I want to bring up here. Richard says, is it the case in the U.S. as it is in some sectors in the U.K. that the term mentor is very loosely defined and can be abused? 2 months in the sector and people set up as a mentor. It has to be carefully managed in a scheme you are describing, I think. I see. I'm gonna go in here. I think the opposite is true. Actually, I think not enough people are willing to consider themselves a mentor or willing to mentor others. I think that like you guys were just talking, right? Like you guys were talking about how you've learned a lot from one another, right? So you don't have to be necessarily, obviously you don't want to be 2 months in the sector, right? But like you don't have to be 20 years in to be able to teach somebody a couple of things, right? So I don't know. I don't know. Richard, any thoughts before we hop into the slides?
Yeah, that's an interesting comment. Yeah, I mean, it kind of use your own best judgment too, right? I always listen to people's advice twice. I don't know if you guys have heard that saying, listen to who's giving you the advice, what's being said, and who's giving you the advice, right? Because any advice that you're getting is going to be based off of their experiences, like their sort of lens of the world, right? So that's something to always keep in mind when this is happening formally or informally on a mentorship.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah. One other thing I was going to say is if people are considering applying for this program, which I feel as everybody should, but there's a section on the application that you can kind of indicate where your interest lies, whether it's mentee, mentor, etc. And I just want to challenge all of the listeners and everyone who's applying to really think about that and where you may really land. Like I completely, yeah, I've been in this industry for going on 8 years, but I truly believe I'm still a mentee, you know? So I think I would just challenge people who are applying to really consider where they may lie in mentor versus mentee and all the other committee members too. So just something I'm throwing out, food for thought and
Yeah.
consider.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. Sammy, let's bring up these slides here real quick because we're going to talk a little bit about the actual program before introducing. I think you guys are going to introduce some of these committee members that we have here as well. You want to talk about the committees that you have? If everyone can see this, I'm not sure.
Yep. Go ahead, Jen.
Okay, so these are our committees, kind of like I mentioned before, our regional kind of
Can
like
you all hear me okay?
regional group. Yes. So we have program chairs that David and I sit there. We're kind of spearheading the initiative. An advisory board, really senior industry leaders where we kind of run to for guidance. Our operations, the infrastructure and the process management, we are working from the ground up, so learning some good infrastructure and where to kind of manage all of our files and information. Recruitment, we are this group is responsible for attracting mentors, mentees, and advisors. So they have been actively recruiting for the past couple of months. And then the other groups, we have content, which is educational programming in the annual theme. Communications, internal and external communication. So anything that you're seeing posted on LinkedIn, social media, all of that is that committee. Mentor support, which the two ladies are joining us today. Their training and ongoing support for the program. Sponsorship, we are also recruiting for sponsorship currently. So we have a great team behind that. Philanthropy, community service, and charitable causes initiatives. And then global engagement as the years go on. Hopefully next year we hope to really grow this program globally. So lots to reach for. And we have truly an amazing team behind all of these. So, and I think the next slide will have the photos of the rest of the team, I believe.
Yeah, this is a very robust set of committees here that you have.
Yep.
I mean, this is a very well built out and resourced program.
Yeah, it's truly like, it's crazy. Like the amount of work, effort, volunteer, everything that these committees have put into already is truly amazing. And it's, like I said, it's almost a regional group, but for mentorship specifically. It's a village.
And it sounds like the real need right now, it sounds like you have more mentors than mentees. So the real need is mentees.
Exactly. You got it.
And sign up is closes this Friday. Is that correct for
Yep.
mentees? Okay.
It sure does. Yeah, because we are going to launch the theme and put all the pods together and get that going about a month from now. So we got to cut off the applications and get the final few through the door and start building those pods.
Who is eligible to join as a mentee, to apply?
That's a great question. So currently, anyone who's part of this program has to be an active ERC member. So that's where some of the extra thoughts have been going from the mentee perspective. So we have a lot of corporate engagement that are recruiting people within their teams and across all verticals too. So essentially, the one requirement is to be an ERC good standing member, part of Worldwide ERC.
Okay. All right, cool. So if you're a member of Worldwide ERC and you don't know everything already, make sure to apply to be a mentee by Friday and get some great wisdom out there.
Or sponsor.
Or a sponsor. Or if you do know everything already, you got a little extra cash, be a sponsor.
Yeah.
There you go. I love it. Let's go to the next slide here and talk about some of the committee members here.
Yeah, so David Toledo and myself, Aaron Weber, Justin, and Erica are our communications committee, and they're fabulous. Janet Williams, Morgan Kelly, Jessica Bravo, and Alyssa Lammers are part of our operations team. Our content team is Sandy Bayer and Kelsey Woolley. And global engagement is Vinny Valverde.
So if you want to be on one of these committees, I mean, would you reach out to that person, or would you apply first and then you get assigned? How does that work?
So within the application, there'll be a call for if you're interested in some of the volunteer work behind the scenes. So we'll consider for next year too. The term is 2 years. We have asked our committee members to be on for 2 years, just so there's some consistency, especially since this is year one in getting kind of off the ground here. So
Cool.
David, why don't you share the rest of our committee member team?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. I'll get the. I realize there's a little bit of a lag on my end, so apologies, guys. So it looks like this is the second slide here showing the rest of our committee members. So Corinne Mossman, Mike Falia, Jana, and Melissa Sudano are on our recruitment team. We've got Evan Miller and Tanya on our philanthropy team. Mary Corrales, Christina Blondheim, Anthony Hughes with sponsorship. And this will be a good segue because we're going to bring these two on. But Sandy McKinney and LaMonica Hummel with mentorship support, who are our guest speakers here. And of course, Mary Weaver, who's leading the charge with global engagement along with Vinny Valverde.
Awesome. That is a great segue, David. If you ever need a second gig, and you want to host a little pod, holler at your boy. Without further ado, why don't we bring out LaMonica Hummel and Sandy McKinney then? And I'll see y'all later. Hey.
Hey.
Hey there. Sorry, echo.
Awesome.
Hey, Matt. How are you?
I am well. I'm getting a little echo right now from somebody's mic is open or something. Don't know, but
All right.
I'm just gonna mute everybody and see if it's maybe Sandy. I don't know. We'll see. There it is. Test. There we go. All right. Hey, y'all. Tell us a little bit. Yeah, Sandy. I think for some reason, Sandy, what I'll do is I'll just stop talking and you can chime in when. But LaMonica, why don't you tell us a little bit about the committee that you're on and kind of what it does.
Oh, thank you. Great to be here. And of course, partnering with Sandy. Well, the couple people from the committee approached me. I don't know how it happened with Sandy, and just said, hey, can you help on supporting the mentors in the program? And let me tell you something, when David and Jennifer and Mary Crow, anybody of those people say anything, and I just say how high, because I will jump for it. And so it's all new. It's super exciting. We've been working together, Sandy and I, on this. And I haven't had the privilege of really getting to know Sandy until now. And we had a one-on-one together, and all I could think of is because she can share that she's, going into new things in her life. And I thought, I'm so sad because I know right now Sandy is like a mentor. And as we got to know each other personally, a mentor for me and what she's doing, I'm like, this is going to continue. That's how quickly a mentor and mentee relationship just grabs you when you are listening to someone and I can really learn from this person and they are passionate about what they're doing. So I'm hoping that we bring that to the mentors who are getting on board with the program.
Yeah, and I love that share, LaMonica, because I had a similar story about Sandy where I didn't know Sandy, and somebody proposed that she come on the show, and it was about mentorship. Actually, I think if I recall, it was a few years ago. And they're like, "Oh, you don't know Sandy McKinney?" And I was like, no, I'm sorry. I don't know what rock I was hiding under, but I don't. I apologize. And then she came on the show and she started talking about things like limiting beliefs and confronting some of my limiting beliefs. And it was a real eye opener. And I thank her to this day. And I talk about her to this day because it was so impactful for me. And I know it's such a passion for her.
Right.
And I just, Yeah.
I'm so glad you can share that with me, because I know it kind of sounds a little weird, but it was like, oh, this is the person I need to have in my life, because
Yep.
she's incredible. So
For sure. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna let her speak for herself.
Yeah.
Hey, Sandy, and let's be quiet and let her go, because I think the mic's a little hot. But go ahead, Sandy. Oh, I can't unmute. You got to unmute yourself. Go ahead, Sandy.
All right, can you hear me now? Okay. Well, thank you both for that share. It's very humbling when you have an impact on folks, as you've shared. But a couple things that I just want to bring up that's really important about this program. And first of all, Ben, you asked the question, what makes a good mentor? A good mentor is someone, I always believe, and I always share this, is when we listen to people, we have to listen to learn, not listen to respond. And I think sometimes when a mentor is really wanting to, if you will, provide insight, provide their experience for folks, I think what really can impact the result of that is really understand who you're talking to. Them share with you their story. And then from there, you can develop what is necessary for that individual. So, Ben, when I first met you, we started talking about all these things. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, I've never, and I go, wait a minute, that's a limiting belief that we all have. I've had limiting beliefs in my career, but at the same point, when we start pulling those back and we start manifesting different things, that's when things start to change in our lives. And the other thing I want to say, and Jen said this earlier, is about the fact that, we might be looking at emerging leaders as the mentees and things like that. And I think you know this, and LaMonica shared it with you. It's important that we continue to grow, right? And a lot of people know this because I've been on my farewell tour, and I've been in this industry for 42 years, and I am moving into retirement this year. And as a result of that, one of the things that I've learned through this whole process, and the gift that was given to me, was that we can continue to learn. And so I would challenge not just everyone that's in the emerging and leaders that are saying, oh, I need to learn X or I need to learn this vertical. I would challenge every single one of us. Because, Ben, you know this, I've said this many times. There's 6 human needs, right? Certainty, uncertainty, significance, love and connection, growth and contribution. When we look at certainty and significance as a salesperson, for example, in this industry, and we rely on that, then we're not allowing our love and connection and our growth to come through. So if you can shift that just a little bit, then that's where we can continue to grow. So I would challenge most of the people that are listening today, it's time for all of us to take an inward look and to say, where can I grow? And even if you've been in the industry for years, we all can gather something from someone. And in this, and I love the word you used, Ben, that we're calling it pods, but I called it cohort as well, at probably my age there. But it is a group learning. It is an opportunity for us to learn from one another, and for having the mentors that can guide them in those directions. And what LaMonica and I are trying to do is just to try to set the stage a little bit for the mentors and give them some guidance there. And they're going to take off. This program, you see how great it's set up, right?
That I wanted to ask you about that as you were talking about this, right? Because, there's no doubt that there's so many folks in our industry that have so much knowledge, but we're not all professional educators and teachers, right? So how do we set up mentors to be successful? What tools do we need to give them? What goes into that? How do we structure it?
LaMonica, do you want to take that one, or yeah?
You go. You're on a roll.
Okay. I think the big thing there, Ben, is that there's got to be some guidance and some structure around it. I don't want to say there's rules of engagement. I don't like that. But what there is there's opportunities for us to learn from each other. And I think more than anything, it's the mentors having a structure that, it's going to be a competition. I love that. It's going to be a competition of these pods. So these pods are going to be given a theme. They're going to have the opportunity at that point, Ben, to form solutions and recommendations, and then they're going to present that at the Global Symposium in the fall at Worldwide ERC. And so how fun is that?
That's super interesting, because now you get some, not only do you have the incentive of learning something, but now you get to show off what you've learned, and you get some recognition, some face time, which kind of accomplishes two things. So talk about significance, right? Yeah.
Right. Which isn't always a great thing, but it can be, right? You're going to have that competitive edge, but at the same point, we want to be able to grow. That's the intent. And that's really the intent here.
Yeah, I love it. Darren Burley says, loves those two incredible leaders in our industry. Hey, Darren.
Hey, Darren, love you.
I think I just want to add to that, because of the structure and the work that's gone into what these leaders have done on these committees. It's an incredible program that's just going to continue to grow. But one thing I believe that's actually going to come out of it is some very lifelong friendships in this industry of people who didn't know each other when they started, or knew a little bit about that person, and maybe had some like, oh, I know that person from this, but not in my world. And then I think out of when you put that type of program together that they've done, again, it's lifelong. I am so excited to see those relationships, because that grows and it builds and it builds. And for me, a mentor is the person who just puts out their hand and says, you know what, it's your turn. And I had that, Patty Ward. It's your turn. It's time for you to jump in and get involved. And that will continue to grow and grow and grow, because people will say, it's your turn to come into this program. You need to step in, whether it's being a mentor or a mentee. I think this is just going to have ripple effects in our industry, and I'm beyond excited to see how it turns out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's super cool. I got a question though, when we talk about, structure of these things and maybe content. I think sometimes we think about this as far as learning knowledge about like job related knowledge and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes it's such a misnomer is the wrong word, but misperception or something,
Mm-hmm.
Sandy, so often you and I are having, conversations where we're talking about gaps in social skills, or gaps in networking abilities, or gaps in like, just like what to do in these situations, what not to do in these situations, and sometimes you need somebody that's been there, done that, made that mistake already to pull you aside and say, hey, I did this is how it worked out for me. Talk a little bit about like kind of the content and maybe what the stuff that you're encouraging these mentors to talk about in these cohorts and these pods.
The beauty in this program is there's an actual leader of a committee that is going to put the content out there, and it's going to, I believe it's going to rotate as they go through these seasons, as they're calling them, and from that perspective, I think what's really interesting about content, like you talked about, Ben, is think about it from the perspective of what you know from a business perspective. But I'll just give a quick example. When I was very late in my career and I made my last job change to Weichert, and I've shared this story before, Ben, at that point, it was like, where can I take my career, and why am I making this change at this point in my career? But then I invested in myself. I obtained a personal coach. I went through 18 weeks of that, which was not cheap. And then I turned around and hired another personal coach whom I still get coached 3 times a month from. And I will continue that through retirement. That's a life coach for me. But my reason in sharing that story is because if you're a continuous life learner, which so many people in this industry, because that's just this industry, then there are so many things we can give, but we can also learn. And that is what's critical here. And that's why, I've been on this tour lately about going to a lot of the regionals here in the Midwest. And I'm saying, please don't look at yourself as somebody who can't take something away from this program. This program, all they're saying is volunteer your time, be a great team member, if you will, in these pods. But most importantly, all you have to be is a good member in WERC. And it's like, why wouldn't you do that?
Right.
Invest in yourself, right, LaMonica? Invest
Absolutely.
in yourself.
And if you're thinking about this and you're considering it, all I would say is lean in. Lean in, whether you're thinking about being a mentor or a mentee. I don't think it's like, you have to be X amount to be in or a mentee to say, hey, what can I learn? You're going to learn. You're going to get, I'm sure, so much more back than you're able to give just because of the environment and the setup that has been done. So I just say, hey, lean in. If you're even considering it, maybe it's not for this season because they're qualifying as that, and maybe it's the next one because there's going to be more. So say yes, lean in. You won't be sorry.
So paint the picture for me, okay? Like, how does this work? Like, tell me like what it's going to look like. So I'm a mentee in this situation. Like, what's the experience going to be like, do you think? Because I know we got to recruit some mentees. I know you all are in recruitment. You got your your own committee to worry about here. But like, paint the picture for me because I've never seen a.
Well, why don't you bring David and Jen back in and let them talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. But between you and David, just tell me what to do all the time. Hold on a second. Hold on.
So you don't do that. But
no.
But one thing
I got him. I'm bringing him back in right now.
Okay.
Go ahead, LaMonica. Talk.
One thing that they may not say that I think that Sandy and I can talk to a little bit about is sponsorship. I think they're really good on the content. They may not, but I guess I would like to say just a couple words about the sponsorship. Again, if you're considering it, say yes, lean in, because sponsoring this group is so important to help it gain momentum and continue to grow. Because if you choose to be a mentor, look at damn right in the center. Okay.
We'll do this. Well, how about this? Does this work for everybody?
That works.
That's the cutest thing. But so I don't want to lose track on the sponsorship, because the thing about this is we all give back. We give back at regionals. We give back all the different places. This is about giving back to our future. This is really about where our future's headed. And we invest all the time and we give back. And this is just about us. And I've never seen that quite before. We're actually investing in the people, the connections, and our commitment to this industry. Not just about, getting our name up there on a board or wherever it is at regionals. This is about really investing in people that are leading our industry in the future. So even if and they can go over that, whether it's a one-time donation or if you're considering as a company. But the other side of that is if you are a company out there and you have a mentee that's considering it, please support them, because your company is going to get so much more back out of it from having this wisdom and knowledge and the gain that they will have of personal growth and professional growth. So I'll get off my soapbox on that one, but sorry.
Well,
I feel pretty strongly about it.
Monica, and you were saying something that really made me think. I mean, we talk a lot about, where's the next generation coming from in this business, and what's the new crop of talent, and to see WERC kind of formalize a program to develop that talent is very exciting for me to see that, right? And Sandy and I talk about this kind of stuff all the time, and it's a conversation that I've had with a lot of folks, right, in this business, especially since we're in recruiting and stuff. And people are always like asking that question, but I'm excited about that. I also, one thing candidly I worry about is like if they're already a WERC member, they're already to some degree getting mentored and they're already in the room, right? How do we get folks that aren't necessarily in the room involved, right? So they can even get to the point where they're invited into the room because they add enough value to be in the room. So that's kind of an interesting structure I'd love to see maybe added in the future. 100%. David, you have a thought?
Yeah. That's something that, how's the lag, by the way? Am I better now? I fixed it.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So that is something that, our recruitment team is working very closely with WERC on. in regards to taking a look at potentially putting some sort of exception process in place, or even looking at creating maybe a different sort of membership tier just for mentees that are participating in the program, because we don't want that to be a barrier that, you know, keep people from applying for the program. So, you know, to add on to comments earlier from Jen and everybody else, you know, even if you're not a WERC member, please apply for the program, because, you know, we'll find a way to get the right people in the right seats, and that should not be a barrier to keep a mentee from participating in the program. So.
Love that. I had a question for Sandy that she artfully dodged and asked for David and Jennifer to come back. So what is a day in the life of a mentee like in this program? How does it work? Like, pretend I'm a mentee, you're talking to me like, hey, welcome to the program, Ben. You know, what does it look like? How's it feel?
Well, I think, you know, go ahead, David, if you want to share, but
yeah.
Well,
David, go ahead. She gave the floor to you, David.
I was just going to say, before we even jump into that, you know, how amazing and how much passion and how much knowledge have Sandy and LaMonica just showcased in like the last 15 minutes. Like, talk about having the right people in the right seats again. Jen and I have gotten so lucky with these two, and with everybody in our committees, where like they just have the right skill set, the right time investment, the right attitude, and just the right knowledge base to help us be successful. So just wanted to say thank you out loud.
I agree with everything you said, and I echo that. But I would also say, and I think Sandy would agree, that you give back to it, right? And you receive it, but then you honor it by doing it, acting on it, you know, feeding back on it, and giving that energy and that gratitude back too, right? And it's a cycle too. Mentees sometimes forget that they give a lot to their mentors as well, in the terms of satisfaction, gratification, and purpose.
Yeah.
So.
And we promise we're not dodging your question, Ben. We know we can jump into that. So I can give you like a perspective from a timeline perspective of what it's going to look like.
Okay.
So, you know, a couple of weeks before we launch the program, we'll send out what we're calling a pod playbook, right? Which will be sort of a welcome to the program. We'll announce who your team is going to be, who you're paired up with, how to contact them, who your mentors are going to be. And we'll give you a lay of the land in regards to what to expect for the program, right? What's the theme? What are the 2 workshops going to be? What are the dates for everything that you need to mark on your calendar? And then we'll give them all the resources that Sandy, LaMonica, and the rest of the other committee members have started to put together, right? So mentors will have sort of a best practices sort of resource, right? Like, how do you guide your teams? What are some important dates to keep in mind? How do you work backwards from those dates, right? What are you going to be judged on, right? So whatever solution that you're going to put forth based on your interpretation of the annual theme, how are we going to judge you? What's the point-based system, right? So how can we set you up to be successful? So that's sort of like in the beginning, right? What we're going to send them, and then everything else from then until the end of the program, where we pick 3 finalists, are just, you know, things that we've already mentioned, right? Like,
so do the pods, are they assigned a project, or do they come up with their own goal and project?
Yes, so that they interpret. So, for example, you know, you're not gonna get this out of us, Ben. You're not gonna get the.
Oh, it's a secret. It's proprietary.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, I love trying to pull hot, you know, breaking news out of people here on the show.
We're announcing it next week. We're announcing it next week.
Okay.
So,
All right. Okay. All right.
But yeah,
you know me, Ben. I'll talk about anything. So when I'm closed-lipped, you know it's a secret.
All good.
But it's up to them. They interpret whatever that theme is, and they build whatever they think is a good response to that theme, right?
Okay. Awesome. All right. I got some questions answered here. You know, you guys playing hardball with me. I gotcha. All right. I gotcha. You know what? Hey, this has been a lot of fun talking about, you know, work stuff, association stuff. Y'all want to have a little more fun, play a game with me?
Sure thing.
We're already set up as the Brady Bunch over here.
Yeah. The Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch. All right. Awesome. We're gonna play overrated, underrated. Do y'all know how to play overrated, underrated?
Yes, sure do.
LaMonica's like, whatever.
Go ahead.
Here we go. I'm gonna give you a topic, and you tell me if it is either overrated or underrated. Okay, those are your 2 options. Okay. And yes, you have to answer the question. Okay, no dodging these questions. And then I will tell you if you're correct. Okay. All right, let's get started here. Overrated, underrated. First one up, pumpkin spice.
Overrated.
Overrated.
Underrated. Underrated.
Oh, I like
Underrated.
it.
What?
Sandy, overrated, underrated.
Underrated.
Underrated. So wait. Say, hold on. We got Sandy and LaMonica say underrated.
I say it's overrated. Sorry.
Oh,
Put your hand up if it's
Overrated.
overrated. Put your hand up if it's overrated. We'll do thumbs up for over and thumbs down for under.
Okay.
Something like that.
I say over.
Wait,
Like
over.
something-
No, I think you're. That's bad. Thumbs down for overrated.
Oh,
Thumbs up
overrated.
for underrated. So you
Oh,
like it, or you
overrated.
don't like it.
I
How about
I
that?
love
You
it.
like
I love it.
So you love it. Okay.
Just something
Okay.
more basic.
All right. Yeah.
more
So, okay.
basic
There we
one.
go. Okay. All right.
We're
Oh,
split.
gosh,
Yeah.
gosh, you guys are a victim of bad timing. Here it is in June, and we're talking about pumpkin spice. You're not getting a nostalgia vote right now. If it was like October or something, you could pull at my heartstrings a little bit. I'm more of a peppermint mocha guy. I got to be honest with you. You know, I just, keep it in the pies, people. Okay, we don't need it in the coffee. Okay,
No.
I'm gonna say overrated. I'm gonna say overrated, people. All right, overrated. Let's keep it moving here. Next one up, overrated, underrated, Muay Thai, kickboxing, Thai kickboxing.
Ooh,
Mm.
more type
Okay,
of
so
name.
we like it as thumbs up. We don't like it as thumbs down. Or
Feels
don't
like
like
any
it.
boxing.
Can we
Overrated.
do like middle?
No, that was the only rule, Jen.
What do you
There-
guys have against Muay Thai? What's wrong with Muay Thai?
Yeah, don't be
I
kicked in
honestly
the head,
don't
y'all.
really. Yeah.
I don't follow it. But I'm not a boxing fan, so
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't follow it.
Overrated. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. David, I can't see your finger, your thumb.
Oh, I'm
Yeah, give me
100%
the good one. There
Yeah.
you go. Okie dokie.
I do Muay Thai, so
I
I
had
love
a
it.
feeling. Out of
Oh,
all the
do you?
people
Okay.
here, I had a
Well,
feeling.
maybe I'll change my mind then. Okay.
No.
I guarantee you I won't.
You're not. There you go, Sandy. Stick to your guns, Sandy. Sandy's like, I'm too old.
I was actually
out of here.
There's no way.
my first experience. Has anyone seen Bloodsport?
Yes, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Frank Dukes,
So
the Kumite.
Yeah, so I was
I
in Thailand, and I was basically like, my brother and I, we were watching a Muay Thai fight, and it felt just like the Kumite experience, like people smoking and like betting and yelling, and then all of a sudden, my brother and I were sitting in the stands, right, and we're around this this ring that's just covered in smoke. It was just, I was like, is this legal? Like, what's going on here? And the guy kicked the other guy in the arm. His arm broke. Everybody like gets up, erupts, and just like, it sounds complete. I'm not selling Sandy on this.
Not
She's
selling
just,
it. No, you're not. You're losing.
Selling it to me.
Well, my brother and I were just sitting there. We're like, what just happened? Why is everybody cheering? Is anyone going to call an ambulance? Like, this guy just broke his arm. It was the craziest experience ever.
You know what, ladies? Here's one for you. The Muay Thai kickboxers have the best uniforms. They're shorts with the embroidery and the attention to detail. I would like, the shorts with the words on the front.
Yeah.
Yeah. That comes from Muay Thai kickboxing.
Okay.
That whole movement
Is
comes
that
from Muay Thai.
doing a better job of selling you guys on it?
No, still no. All right. I like the shorts. I can't fit in any tie shorts, but I like the shorts.
No.
All right, let's keep it moving here. No, Muay Thai kickboxing is underrated. I'm sorry, it is underrated. It is a fantastic sport. Guard yourself, protect yourself at all times. All right, next one up here. Overrated, underrated. Fresh baked bread. Can we all agree?
Yeah.
Jennifer says no. She's like giving a reluctant.
She's probably gluten, right?
She's gluten.
No, I'm not gluten.
I know you're not.
Gluten tastes like cardboard. I'm sorry. I'm all for healthy, but cardboard.
Jennifer, tell us why you hate fresh baked bread.
I love fresh. I would actually love to. So if you don't know this about me, I love cooking, and I'm a huge health freak, and I would love to start making my own sourdough, but I just haven't embraced that journey yet. So I'm so for the fresh baked bread. Absolutely.
That's a big trend, baking your own sourdough. I feel like it was it started during COVID or something, but everybody's baking bread.
To me tips and tricks, let me know.
I say support your local bakery.
Or that.
Local bakery. Sorry.
I love a good farmer's market, and they sell the sourdough there. So you're right.
I love the bakery at Walmart. Just kidding.
That's not a little bakery, by the way.
I know, it's a joke. That was a joke. It's a joke.
Oh,
yes, everyone can agree fresh baked bread is amazing, and the smell is better than pumpkin spice.
Hey.
Okay, next one up here. Upgrading your phone yearly.
Who's got the money for that?
I don't know. Consume,
Anybody
no?
see the Netflix documentary on consumerism? Came out like a couple months ago. I'll
No,
send
I
it
don't
to you.
think so.
It's crazy. Just talks
Well-
about how products are built these days to basically break like everything.
Yeah.
My phone doesn't stay charged anymore. I'm like, what is this? It's fine. Why you die at midday? It's horrible. So now I
Has to
gotta buy a
die.
new phone.
Yeah. I'll get a
It
new
is-
one when it dies.
It is disgusting to think that when you look around, whatever room you're in right now, if you look around, everything you see will end up in a landfill in the next 30 years. And it's kind of disgusting and also like hard to kind of even conceive. Like, how does it all fit? You know?
Okay.
True.
Yeah.
Do you think family pictures are going to end up in a landfill?
You know what? Thank you for asking, LaMonica. I was in a parking lot of a Brahms, that's the ice cream place for those of you who aren't from Texas, buying this lady's old picture frames. She moved downsized from a 4-bedroom home, and we're doing an art installation here in the thing where we're taking photos of all these people in the industry and stuff, and making a little wall. It's kind of cute. Anyway,
We haven't asked us.
and, well, anyway,
Not
and
in the
so,
question.
and so we're repainting and we're upcycling them, et cetera, right? But point being is, this lady, she was like so like emotional about it, because she's like, my family was like picture was in these frames for years, and all my grandbabies and all the things, but she was selling all the frames. And so maybe she probably kept the 5x7s in a box somewhere, for sure.
Her grandkids scanned them, and now they're all in the cloud.
But all the frames are yeah, they're with me now, and they're probably going to be in the garbage in the next 5 years. Yeah, when I move here. Yeah, it's really sad.
It's true.
Hey, Ben, quick question before, I know we're coming towards the end here. What were you feel comfortable sharing some of those self-limiting beliefs that Sandy helped you with? That was such an interesting comment you made earlier.
I mean, every day, right? I mean, basically any sentence that starts with I can't, I never,
Okay.
I do, you know, I don't. Some of them like
So how
I
you
can't,
take
like if
yourself-
somebody says, oh, I'm not artistic, I can't draw, I can't paint. For me, okay, I can't paint. That was one for me. I can't paint. So I was pretty good draw. I could draw, you know, but I never thought I could paint, you know. And now I've started painting. I don't give Sandy credit for that, but that was a self-limiting belief that I had, that I can't paint. I can't start a business. I can't do recruiting. I'd never done it before, right? Before I started a recruiting agency, I never did recruiting before. I don't
So
know.
it's about sort of reframing that. I haven't yet, or I will.
Yet is a great way to do it. I can't yet. I can't paint yet. So my son, actually, he's 7 years old, and they teach him in school, comma, yet, right? So I can't dribble a basketball yet.
Well, and another way to look at it too is that not just yet, but it's like I already am. So I am a CEO of a company. I am running a recruiting business. I am, and you manifest it. Jen and I talk about this a lot. You manifest that into your life, and then when you manifest that into your life, most of the time you're going to be right. It's going to happen.
It's the same process of like, so when you started doing that, Sandy, when you just verbalized those things, honestly, I got a visceral reaction inside of me. I was scared. It's so funny because you were saying things that I am, even though, and they still made me scared, which is like kind of talks about imposter syndrome or whatever. But when you start saying I am, and you haven't yet, but you are manifesting it, and then you say you are, and then you see yourself, or it becomes a very scary moment. And because then you realize at that moment, there's nothing stopping you from being that person except you and your own limiting beliefs. Therefore, you can't blame anybody else. There are no externalities, you know, oh, so-and-so won't let me, or such and such condition or situation. Like, we really blame a lot of other people for why we don't do things, or a lot of other circumstances for why we don't do things. And when you take those circumstances away and you say, you know, that becomes really scary, because I say it's a fear of success. I think we talk about fear of failure. I think people have a fear of success. When you start really manifesting and thinking about those things that you really want to do in your heart of hearts, and you start talking about those things like really vulnerably and putting those things out there, and you realize like the only thing standing between that and reality is you.
And you allow the
So
universe
true.
to open up and come to you. And then when you allow that to happen, it just overflows at that point.
Yeah, reminds me of a quote, a Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or can't, either way, you're right. Right. So it starts up here. I love that.
Yeah.
You got to do
Mindset
an
is
episode on that one day.
So powerful.
Yeah.
If you ever are on TikTok, I post Mindset Mondays every Monday, and I've done it for a while now for myself, and people have now loved to see them. It's just crazy what your mind can do.
Yeah.
Well, and as Jen and I talk all the time, right, Jen? It's things are not what you finish this. You finish the quote.
Things are not or things are always happening for you, not to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a great one. That's a great
Great
shift.
mindset.
Always.
This is really awesome, y'all. And this is just a glimpse of what you can get when you join the Momentum Mentorship Program. So mentees out there, sign up ends on Friday. So get your applications in. What's the website, or how do they find the application?
Yeah, just go on the WERC website, and then under the I think it's under the membership section.
Yeah, all the way down.
Sammy, will you put a link in the comments to LinkedIn? Cool.
Yeah. So under the membership section, there's a mentorship landing page. So that's where you guys can, apply for the program, and reach out to any of us here if you have any questions or on the fence about anything. Thanks for the time today, Ben.
Yeah, really
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you for the time, and thanks for contributing to the future of our industry. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate y'all. I'm taking the day off tomorrow. My dad's coming to town, so can't wait to spend some quality time with my pops. And I'll see y'all next week, everybody. Take care, y'all.
Be
Thank
well.
you.